I'm sorry, I was debugging something and also scratching a bird and letting Fred talk about this. But Corrupted Tarball does ask, like, it would be cool to have a build something from scratch workshop. I would love to do that. I was just talking to Ken about it earlier today when I was crying about the view. I was just talking to him about that earlier today, and because Fred and I did take a stab at that. I think I want to go back to the drawing board a little bit and think about how I do it, but it's hard to do in a short span of time. But it would be really fun, kind of like last week we had the Meet the Borb stream. I do think it would be fun, and doing that gives me some confidence that in 3 hours we could probably
Well,
do an okay job of it.
well, in 10 minutes. Now, granted, he couldn't really explain what he was doing to the people who were watching because we only had an hour to cover the whole tool and stuff like that. But literally in 10 minutes, he had built a 3-player game that he was playing uh, over the network. And and it was obvious that his inputs were making a difference. Um, uh, it wasn't
We can
anything.
run it. It's great. I still
Yeah,
have it. Woo!
it wasn't anything great, but yeah. So
There
he
you go.
just built a sphere that was traveling back and forth, and the little ball that was responding to his input. And then he brought up 3 versions of it and showed that all 3 of them were different and respecting the input from the others.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it right now. We'll at least do 2 players, but we haven't shown multiplayer in a long time. But here we go. I'm gonna pretend to be Paul and invite one person, and over here I'm gonna masquerade as myself and join Paul. Here we go. Multiplayer gameplay. I have to switch windows to do it, but I'm moving a cursor. We're both experiencing gameplay together. Hey, Damone, what's up? Welcome.
And so by using this, you get this out of the box. Um, that's another reason why Dan likes this language is he's got multiplayer that he can test immediately.
For exciting cursor-based whatever this is gameplay. But yeah, I think I can make stuff really fast, but there is this sort of teach you how to use it. I have an old doc, and it's to be totally honest, and I don't mind being completely honest about this stuff. I think teaching one on one right now would be very successful. I think trying to teach everybody with a 3 hour tutorial where you can't even get your hands on it and try something and then ask me a question is going to be really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to realize that when you start something, there's virtually nothing there. Dan, all the stuff you see Dan looking at, he's built up over time. And so when you start something, it's like starting with a carbon atom and you've been asked to make a human. And you see, oh, well, I got a carbon atom over here, and there's an oxygen atom, and I know that if I assemble these together somehow, I'll get a human somewhere in some path that I take, but I have no idea what path I need to take to get there. And so that's kind of the that's kind of what you need to learn as you use this is that you have all these atoms, but you can actually put them together, and that's what Dan is doing. Is all those orange components on the left there that he's defined are really molecules he's made out of a bunch of atoms, and then he assembles those molecules together to get an organism.
Yeah, it's just really hard to comprehend that until you try to do it a little bit yourself. that's
Yeah,
my that's
I'm
my
not
big
saying it's
takeaway.
it's easy. I'm just the thing about the language is that all of the atoms are kind of very well. They're obviously building blocks, but they're very the surface area of the language is small, um, but the surface area gets huge when you build things out of the language. So Dan has a huge surface area here on his design, but the language he's using to make the surface area itself has a small surface area, which means it's relatively easy to hold in your head the really important parts. There's a lot of nuance to the language, but once you can hold in your head those important parts, then it becomes easier to, like a tinker toy, just start assembling things.
Yeah, yeah. But also like a Tinker Toy, it's easier when you touch it
Yes.
and get to break it and get to like pull it apart because that's the cool part is yeah, I'm dealing with atoms here and you're I mean sure, I'll make stuff that you get to use. Don't worry, you're not on your own. But if you want to be on your own, you can be totally on your own.